Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are tackling a scenario that I think keeps more people awake at night than interest rates or market crashes combined.
Oh, yeah.
It's that ultimate logistical deadlock. You're in a house, you've outgrown it, you want to move, but you run smack into this chicken or the egg problem.
It feels impossible.
Do you sell your current home first to get the cash, but then risk, having absolutely nowhere to sleep? Or do you buy the new place first, secure the roof over your head, but risk carrying two mortgages that they could bankrupt you?
It is the classic real estate deadlock. And honestly, looking at the source material we have today, which is a very candid interview transcript from the W Group Reel,
Right.
they do not sugarcoat this at all. They describe this specific decision as genuinely one of the most stressful decisions in real estate.
Which, I don't know, it feels weirdly validating because it feels high stakes when you're sitting at your kitchen table trying to figure this out.
It is high stakes. You are essentially gambling with your liquidity on one hand or your actual shelter on the other. It's primal.
So our mission today is to decode this gamble. We're going to look at the financial mechanics, the logistical risks of timing a move, and our source data is hyper-local to the greater Baton Rouge market.
Exactly. We're talking everywhere from Denham Springs all the way to University Club.
And we're going to see how that geography actually changes the whole strategy.
It totally does. And the first thing that just jumps out from this interview is that there is no single correct answer. The strategy that works for, say, a retiree with a paid-off house in the country club of Louisiana is going to be financial suicide for a young family in Denham Springs.
You have to match the strategy to your balance sheet.
100%.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because I think my biggest anxiety, and I assume the listeners too, is that fear of being, homeless. You sell your house, the new one isn't ready, and you're living in a cardboard box.
Why?
But the data says most people in Baton Rouge actually choose this path. They sell first.
They do. The vast majority of the market sells first. But don't think of it as them choosing homelessness.
Yeah.
Think of it as them choosing solvency.
Solvency. That's a strong word. Unpack that for us. Why is selling first the solvent play?
It really comes down to where your money is living. For most homeowners, their net worth isn't in a savings account. It's trapped in the drywall and the foundation of their current house.
Yeah.
The source gives this really clear example using a family out in Denham Springs.
All right. Walk us through the math.
So say they bought a home a few years ago for $180,000.
Right.
Today, in that specific market, it might be worth $260,000.
So on paper, they're doing great. They have 80 grand in equity.
On paper, yes. But that $80,000 is completely illiquid. You can't spend it. It's not real until you sell the asset.
That money is their down payment.
It's their down payment. It's their closing costs for the new place. So if they don't sell the old house first, they physically cannot transact on the new one. Selling first isn't a preference. It's a liquidity requirement.
It's the only way to unlock the vault. Okay. But let's say you could scrape together the cash to buy first. Is there still a strategic reason to sell first anyway?
There is. And this is a really important mental model for negotiation. When you sell first, you're trading convenience for leverage.
Leverage in what sense?
You become what the industry calls a cash-strong buyer. First, you know exactly how much money you have. There's no guessing game.
Right. No, what if my house only sells for X?
Exactly. But more importantly, you avoid the home sale contingency.
I see this term in contracts all the time. Define that for us. What exactly is a contingency here?
A contingency is basically an escape hatch in the contract.
Yeah.
If you make an offer with a home sale contingency, you're telling the seller, I will buy your house, but only if I can sell my house first.
And I imagine sellers hate that.
They despise it.
Yeah.
In a competitive market, a seller looks at that offer as weak. It introduces this whole domino effect of risk.
Right, because if your buyer falls through...
Then you can't buy my house, and then I can't buy my next house. The whole chain just collapses.
So if I'm a seller, and I have two offers, one from a guy who needs to sell his house, and one from a guy who's already sold and has cash in the bank.
You take the sure thing every single time, even if the offer is slightly lower. By selling first, you become the sure thing. You strip away the risk for the seller, and that makes your offer powerful.
Okay, so selling first saves your wallet, makes you a formidable buyer. But we have to address the elephant in the room, the gap.
The dreaded gap.
You sell your house on Monday. You can't close on the new one for a month. Where do you physically go? This is the cardboard box fear.
This is where we get into what the source calls gap solutions. It's not about cardboard boxes. It's about planned transitions. The agent outlines 3 specific ways to handle this. The first, and apparently very common in Baton Rouge, is the leaseback.
A leaseback. I've heard this term. How does it work for a regular person?
It's actually pretty simple, but you have to negotiate it up front.
Yeah.
You sell your house to the new buyer, you go to closing, you get your check. But inside that contract, there's an agreement that lets you act as a tenant in your old home.
So you become a renter in the house you just sold.
Precisely. You pay the new owner a daily rate, usually based on their new mortgage payment, and they let you stay for, say, 30 to 60 days.
That sounds kind of ideal, honestly.
It buys you a grace period. The source mentions seeing this in Prairieville, Zachary, South Downs. It works. It lets you close on your next place without moving twice.
But surely not every buyer is cool with that. If I just bought a house, I want to move in.
That is the catch. It only works if the buyer isn't in a rush. So you need a plan B. And the second solution is specific to the Baton Rouge market, short-term rentals.
So not a hotel.
No, actual furnished apartments or homes. Think corporate housing, long-term Airbnbs. They're clustered near LSU, mid-city, downtown. It's not fun moving into a temporary rental, but it's way better than carrying 2 huge mortgages.
Right. And the third solution,
The source calls this the Louisiana solution.
which I assume involves gumbo.
It involves family. The transcript notes this is culturally really common in the area. People just move in with their in-laws or their parents for a few weeks.
That's free, usually.
It is. It keeps you nimble.
Unless you don't get along with your in-laws, in which case that double mortgage might start looking pretty good.
It's a stress test for the relationship, for sure, but financially, it's the zero-cost route.
Okay, so that's the sell-first path. It's the prudent, safe, slightly annoying path. But let's flip the coin. Let's talk about the high rollers, the people who buy the new house first. Who are they?
This is a much, much smaller slice of the market. To pull this off, you need 2 things: massive equity and a very healthy debt-to-income ratio.
Okay.
The profile the source describes is someone living in a high-value area like University Club. Maybe they've lived there for 15 years.
So they've paid down the mortgage a ton.
Exactly. The example given is a home worth $500,000 where they only owe $150,000. They have the assets, but more importantly, they have the income to qualify for that second mortgage without needing to pay off the first one. The bank says, sure, you can afford both.
That sounds incredibly convenient. You move into the new house, settle in, then sell the old one whenever. No rush.
It's the ultimate convenience move.
Yeah.
And selling a vacant home is easier. It's easier to stage, easier to show. But, and this is where the source gets very serious, you are exposing yourself to what they call the bleed.
The bleed, that sounds ominous.
It is. The math is brutal. The agent walks through a scenario where your old mortgage is, say, $1,800 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Your new mortgage is $2,500. That's $4,300 a month just in housing costs leaving your bank account.
That is a steep burn rate.
And if that old home sits on the market for just 3 months, which isn't unusual, you're looking at nearly $13,000 out of pocket. That's including utilities, insurance, all of it.
Wow.
You're paying $13,000 just for the convenience of not moving twice.
That eats into your equity so fast. You think you made $100,000, but you just spent 13 of it on empty rooms.
Correct. And that assumes the house sells for what you think it will. That's the other part, the market risk. When you buy first, you're betting that your old home is worth a certain amount. If the market dips, you have to reduce the price. You are holding the bag, and you lose all your leverage because you have to sell to stop the bleeding.
So selling first is safe but inconvenient. Buying first is convenient but risky. Is there a middle ground? The source mentions some financial products. Let's talk about bridge loans.
A bridge loan is a tool designed specifically for this gap. It lets you borrow against the equity in your current home to fund the down payment on the new one before you've actually sold.
So it bridges that liquidity gap we talked about.
Exactly. It unlocks that $80,000 without the sale.
That sounds like a magic bullet. Why doesn't everyone do that?
Because there's no free lunch in finance. The source explains these loans are expensive. They come with higher interest rates, origination fees, and you still have the risk of the home not selling. It's another layer of cost and pressure.
Okay. What about this simultaneous close I read about? The agent called it a high wire act.
This is for the adrenaline junkies, or at least the very, very well organized. You list your home and make an offer on a new home at the same time, trying to time the closing dates to fall on the exact same day.
That sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It is a massive coordination exercise. The source specifically says you need excellent closing attorneys to pull this off. They act like air traffic controllers.
Why does the attorney matter so much?
Because the money has to move instantly. The funds from your buyer purchase your house, and then within minutes, those same funds are wired to the seller of your new house. If one wire is delayed, both deals can just collapse.
Wow.
But when it works, it's seamless. You move out in the morning, and then by the afternoon, you definitely need a team you trust for that one.
Okay, one more tactic mentioned, the kick-out clause. What is that?
This is how you try to get a seller to accept your contingency. Remember we said sellers hate them? Well, the kick-out clause is the sweetener. You make an offer contingent on selling your home, but you let the seller keep marketing their house to other people.
Wait, so I have a contract, but they can still sell it to someone else?
Yes. If they get a better non-contingent offer, they come to you and say, hey, I have a better buyer. You have 48 to 72 hours to remove your contingency and commit, or I'm kicking you out and taking the other deal.
So it puts the pressure on you, but at least it gets your foot in the door.
Exactly. It's a compromise. It protects the seller, but gives you first right of refusal.
One thing that really struck me is how much geography dictates strategy. The agent kept saying you can't just talk about the Baton Rouge market, you have to look at the neighborhood velocity.
This is so crucial. Real estate is hyper-local. The source breaks it down into hot seller markets and slower markets, and the strategy just completely shifts.
Give me an example of a hot seller market.
So areas like Central or Zachary, the agent notes that homes there move very, very fast. In that scenario, you can be aggressive about listing your home first.
Why?
Because you know you'll be under contract quickly, maybe in a week. So that homeless gap is predictable. You aren't risking a 6-month wait.
Versus a slower market.
The source mentions parts of Gonzales or some older subdivisions in South Baton Rouge where inventory might be heavier. If you live there, the advice is to list first and wait for a solid offer before you even start shopping.
Because if you buy first, you could be stuck with that old house for months.
Exactly. In a slow market, the bleed is way more dangerous because the time frame is so unpredictable.
And what about if you're trying to buy in a hot area?
That flips the script again. If you're trying to get into, say, new development in Prairieville or a place like Roseanne, inventory is super tight. Speed wins.
Okay.
In that case, buying first, or at least having already sold your home so you're cash ready, is almost a requirement to even compete. If you show up with a contingency in Roseanne, you're probably getting ignored.
Now, there's one category the source calls a cheat code, new construction.
Yes. This is a fascinating strategic window. If you're buying a new build-in Prairieville, Central, Gonzales, you gain a massive advantage of time.
Because the house isn't built yet.
Right. Builders have a 4 to 8 month timeline. This creates a natural buffer. You put down your deposit, then you wait a few months, and then you list your current home. You can try to time your sale to align with the builder's completion date.
That sounds perfect. It just solves the gap problem. What's the catch?
There's always a catch. The warning from the source is clear. Builders run behind. Weather happens. Material shortages happen. If you sell your house expecting to move in on November 1st, and the builder says, sorry, we need until January, you are right back to the gap problem.
So you still need a leaseback plan or a rental plan.
You do. Always build in a buffer.
Yeah.
But it definitely gives you more control than buying an existing home where they want you to close in 30 days.
It seems like no matter which path you choose, there's stress. And the source actually spends some time on the psychology of all this.
They do, and I think this is the most insightful part of the whole interview. The agent explicitly states that any path involves discomfort. You are choosing between two types of stress: the logistical stress of moving twice, or the financial stress of 2 mortgages.
Pick your poison.
Exactly. And the biggest trap, according to the source, isn't picking the wrong strategy. It's picking no strategy. It's analysis paralysis.
Oh, I can relate to that. Overthinking it until it's too late.
The agent mentions clients who debated for 6 months. In that time, prices went up, interest rates changed, they lost out. The cost of their indecision was actually higher than the cost of a double move would have been.
That's a powerful point. Waiting isn't free.
Not at all. Waiting has a price tag. And people think they're being safe by waiting, but they're actually losing buying power.
So, getting to the verdict, if the expert had to pin down a recommendation for the typical family median income, normal savings, kids in school, what is it?
The source is crystal clear on this. For the typical family, you sell first.
Sell first. Even with the headache.
Even with the headache. Because it eliminates the risk of financial ruin. You buy from a position of strength with known numbers. The logic is, you can survive living with your in-laws for 2 months. It's annoying, it's cramped, but you survive it.
Right.
You might not survive draining your savings to pay for an empty house for 6 months. One is uncomfortable, the other is dangerous.
That puts it in perspective. The plan B is annoying, but manageable. The financial risk could be catastrophic.
Precisely. The source advises having a rock-solid plan B. Know exactly where you'll stay if the timeline slips, but execute the sale first.
So, to recap our deep dive today, we really have 3 tiers of strategy here.
Right. Tier 1 is the safe bet. Sell first, then use a leaseback or a temporary rental. This is for most people who need their equity to move. Low risk, high annoyance.
Got it.
Tier 2 is the luxury bet. Buy first and just carry the costs. This is for high net worth folks who value convenience over efficiency and can afford the bleed.
High convenience, high cost.
And Tier 3 is the planned bet, using new construction or a simultaneous close to thread that needle. That's for people who can time the market or find that perfect builder scenario.
And the common thread is that the perfect scenario, where you move out in the morning and into the new one in the afternoon with 0 risk and 0 stress. It basically doesn't exist.
It's a unicorn. The winners in this market, as the source puts it, are the ones who accept a temporary period of discomfort to get to the home they want.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. We talked about the financial cost of the double mortgage and the logistical cost of the double move, but I want you to consider the cost of waiting. If analysis paralysis is the biggest trap, what's the actual price tag of waiting another year for the perfect timing? Is the desire for a smooth transition actually the most expensive preference a buyer can have?
That's the question. Sometimes the messy jump is the only way to cross the chasm.
Thanks for diving in with us today. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.